Hello, and welcome to the Life Report. I'm Matt Anderson.
And I am Ben DiBono.
And today we are here to talk about history.
We are.
And so what you're about to view is clips from the last 8 weeks of Ben and myself talking about history of Christianity.
How about that?
So, sit back, relax,
and enjoy.
It is a perfect project for you, Matt, because you are a podcasting fan. I kind of came alongside you, and I've come to love it since then, but you have been a podcast fan for a long time, so this is right up your alley.
I know, since 2006, when I first started listening to podcasts, we first started making our own podcast last year in 2009, Ben, and what I'm going to have here at the end of this 8 weeks is 8 full episodes of the Life Report that covers Christianity from the first century to today.
Should we get to it? What are we doing today, Matt? Tell me what we're covering.
All right, well, let me look here. I'm actually starting a little bit before the first century, and then we're going to go to...
So you are starting before Christianity?
I am starting a little bit before Christianity because when we talk about the early years of Christianity, I think that we must first talk about Judaism. I just want to touch on monasticism briefly because we talked about it quite a bit in class, and I thought it was interesting. I mean, there are strong points, but I think the weak points are stronger. Some people, oh my gosh, this is going to be crazy. Some of the monks, in an attempt to fight against what they thought the body was evil, and sex was evil. So they actually, this is messed up. They would actually castrate themselves.
You're going to sign up for that one?
I'm not.
Yeah, me neither.
They thought that this was an act of worship. I mean, this is clearly a weak point of monasticism. It's an extremist monk.
So, time alone, good. Permanently, not so much. Castration, really not so much.
Really bad.
And you probably need to do communion every now and then, too. Let the record show that the Life Report is not in favor of self-castration.
Good. There ended up being some different councils. Again, this is kind of how they settled things back then. And did you know this, Ben, that there was a council of Pisa in 1409, and Pisa, they decided to elect their own pope. So, which means that for a time, there were 3 popes. But I'm going to wrap this up by saying there was a council of Constance. This happened between 1414 and 1418. They decided to choose this one pope, and in an interesting turn of events, the original 2 from Avignon and from Rome, they were booted, and this third guy from Pisa, he ended up becoming the master pope. I don't know what you call him.
That's wild.
That's probably not the official title.
Probably not.
But he was approved by...
One pope to rule them all. One pope to find them.
Exactly.
One pope to bring them all, and in the darkness find them. Little Lord of the Rings action there.
Very nice. Thank you. That's more for the Sci-Fi Christian than for the Life Report. Do you remember who we're talking about this week?
Martin Luther, sir.
That's right. We're going to be talking about Martin Luther and the Reformation, and
we are getting reformed.
To it. We're totally getting reformed right here on the Life Report. Martin Luther was born in November.
Whoa.
Yes. Shocking.
I never knew that about him.
He was born on November 10th, 1483, so he's not that much older than us. 500 short years.
That's a bit older.
It is a bit, but when you really think about like how monumental this all was, 500 years ago, not so much. But our story is going... You don't agree with that?
That's like the dumbest comment I've ever heard, that he's a bit older than us.
You're shaking your head in dismay.
I just can't believe that's what you're starting the show with.
We're going to talk about John Calvin, but first I want to talk about the beginning of Lutheranism, and we're going to talk about Erasmus. Do you like Erasmus?
Sure.
All right. Guess what, Ben?
I don't have strong feelings about Erasmus one way or the other.
Look what book I have in my hand.
Justo.
Yeah, Gonzalez. We've finally moved on to Volume 2. So, Ben, there's like a quick overview on Erasmus and Luther. When you would say this, what was some of the things that really stuck out to you about their crazy relationship?
I don't know. I don't remember getting too much into it.
Do you sometimes just like saying the word Erasmus?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun one to say. It feels like it should be a dirty word, but it's not.
It is kind of. It does have a hint of dirtiness to it.
It does.
Yeah, that's weird. So
I gotta start saying that.
Like when you're really mad.
Oh, Erasmus.
Swedish phase. Now I'm gonna again set the stage. Gustavus Adolphus, who was a staunch Lutheran, became... Yes.
There's a college in our town.
There is. And actually, so I'm just going to quickly tell a little bit of his story. So he was a king of Sweden, and he did so good, which is what we're going to talk about, that when...
You're going to tell a little bit of his story?
Yeah.
A little bit of his story?
Ooh. So when the Swedish migrated over here to America, Ben, this is not in my notes, I'm just telling this because I learned it in class, that he was such a well-known legendary character that they named things after him, such as colleges called...
But we don't want to promote other colleges besides Northwestern.
You're right.
Why are you advertising to our audience other colleges?
I have no idea. Sorry about that. So, Gustavus Adolphus,
There goes your grade.
a staunch Lutheran, became king of Sweden in 1611. Pope Pius XI was pope from 1922 to 1939 and held some interesting political ideas. Although he was very concerned with the atheistic nature of communism, Ben, he strongly advocated for the same principles present in fascism, which I know you hate fascism.
Yeah, I am not a fascist.
Even though aren't you in the line of Mussolini? You're Italian, right?
I don't know if that puts me in the line of Mussolini.
Just saying.
What's your ancestor? How many atrocities have they committed?
Ben, this might surprise you, but one of the most important things to evangelicals is evangelizing. That's not a word. Evangelizing is what I was going for. So, this comes from the Great Commission. You familiar with the Great Commission?
No, Matt. I have never heard of the Great Commission in my entire life.
Ben, how do you feel about the Great Commission? Let me start there before I go into...
Why do you keep asking me how I feel about things like Jesus? This is his last words to us before he goes to heaven. How do you think I feel about them? Are you pro-Great Commission or anti-Great Commission? Let's take a poll of all Christians and find out how many of them are anti-Great Commission. Let's start with me. I'm pro. How about you, Matt?
Pro. John R. Mott, a Methodist layman and the most energetic organizer in modern missions history, was described by Sweeney as having a career so full and varied that it defies summarization. Ben, let me talk to you here for a second about this. This is exactly how I felt. As we've been, throughout the course of these last 8 weeks, there have been a lot that I wanted to talk about, but I didn't have time to cover. So once again, I'd like to encourage our listeners, Ben, to do further study in the areas that most interested them, or if we kind of said, well, we read about this, but we didn't have a chance to talk about it, like we read here about Mott, the things we've read about, they're so full and varied that it defies summarization. Well, I hope you've enjoyed these historical clips.
Historical and hysterical, weren't they?
They were.
Yes, and if you want more of our stuff, you can check us out at sci-fi-christian-podcast.com, where Matt and I do a weekly podcast.
That's all from here. I'm Matt Anderson.
And I am Ben DiBono.
And this is the Life Report, signing off.